Hello everyone, welcome to the Sports Corner at Choose Adventure Media. My name is Zach, and in today's episode, I'll be giving my official mock draft 1.0. The NFL draft has always been one of my favorite times of the year. I love everything from the Senior Bowl to the Combine, to the smoke screens, to the rumors, to the crazy trades that happened. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into it. Here's my mock draft 1.0. All right, I've got my PFF mock draft simulator pulled up. If you don't know about it, go to pff.com and they have this amazing mock draft simulator that you'll see in this video. They've got a lot of great information on there and it's really fun to play with, and just play out different scenarios and stuff. So with the number one overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders are going to select Fernando Mendoza. This is pretty much a guarantee at this point. Fernando Mendoza had an amazing season at Indiana. He won the Heisman Trophy, obviously led them to a national championship. He's incredibly smart. He's a great processor. I like to describe him as just mobile enough. He has a little bit of wiggle, but he's not Lamar Jackson, but few people are. My only concern with Fernando is going to be his arm strength. I think it's either average or slightly above average, and it'll be interesting to see how he transitions to NFL offenses. At Indiana, he ran a very RPO-heavy offense, but he's incredibly smart, so I'm not too worried about it. With number 2, I usually put Ruben Bain Jr. here from Miami. However, there are some concerns about some measurables, and I'll talk about it more throughout the NFL draft season. But NFL teams can be sticklers when it comes to stuff like, arm length, particularly with edge rushers. There's some statistic that in the last 30 years, there hasn't been a Pro Bowl edge rusher with shorter than 32-inch arms. And Ruben Bain is very much expected to come in under that benchmark. So here I'm going to go with David Bailey from Texas Tech. First, the New York Jets need talent anywhere on their roster, particularly on defense, and I think edge is a great place to start. David Bailey, I think he's a great prototypical edge rusher, and I think the Jets were probably going to go with him at 2, just because he's most likely going to come in at a more comfortable measurables. And at the number 3 slot, I have the Arizona Cardinals selecting Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle out of Utah. I think the Cardinals, they are kind of in a transition spot. They, fired their coach this offseason. I think the Kyler Murray trade is coming either this offseason or next offseason. So I think with this pick, they really need to kind of build a great core around whatever quarterback goes into that spot. And they have, a great option at receiver with Marvin Harrison Jr. They have Trey McBride at tight end. But Spencer Fano has been incredibly reliant and has been projected as a top 10 pick most of the season. And I think he'd be a great pickup for the Arizona Cardinals here at 3. At 4, I really like this pick. I have the Tennessee Titans picking Arvell Reese. There's a lot of talk about whether Arvell Reese is an edge rusher or a linebacker. While I think he would be a very good edge rusher, I don't think it's the best use of his skill set to put him on the edge every single play. He can set the edge against the run. I don't know how well he would do it consistently against offensive tackles in the NFL, but he did a great job in the Big Ten. But Ohio State primarily used him as a quarterback spy and basically let him roam all over the field, and I think that's his best skill set. He's incredibly strong. He's incredibly fast. He's great against the run. He does so many things so well, and I think Robert Saleh is, jumping with joy with this pick, and I would love to see him in a Robert Saleh defense. Arvell Reese would be a great tool for Robert Saleh as he looks to rebuild the Tennessee Titans. At number 5, I could very well see Caleb Downs going here. I think Caleb Downs is an incredibly talented player. I just don't think the NFL values safeties at 5. Great football player. I think he's a top 5 player in this class in terms of who's the best. But this is a mock draft, and I don't think the Giants are going to go with a safety at 5. I think they need another weapon. They have a great young offensive core with Jackson Dart, with Cam Skattebo, and Malik Neighbors coming back from injury. So I think Carnell Tate would fit in wonderfully with this, and I think he gives them something that they don't necessarily have. Carnell Tate, he's incredibly physical. He's fast. He chews up space a lot. He is very physical. He has great ball skills. So I think the New York Giants would be incredibly happy to get Carnell Tate here at 5. At number 6, I have the Cleveland Browns selecting Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. Really like Jordan Tyson. The Cleveland Browns, they obviously need a lot. But I think pass catcher, the most, because their number 1 receiver is Jerry Jeudy, and that's not a number 1 receiver in the NFL. I'm picking Jordan Tyson here for the Cleveland Browns, with maybe building around Shadir Sanders. I think pass catcher is a great place to start at number 6. And at number 7, I have the Washington Commanders selecting Ruben Bain Jr. out of Miami. I think Ruben Bain is amazing. Every time I watched him this season, the guy just produces. Like, he is phenomenal against the pass. He's great at setting the edge against the run. And the dude only plays with one speed, always 110%. If he gets knocked down, he immediately gets back up. I think he's going to be a great NFL edge rusher. I think he slides down to 7 because of the measurables, but I think he'll fit in great with the Washington Commanders, who desperately need help on the edge. And at number 8, I have the New Orleans Saints selecting one of my favorite prospects in the class, Mekhi Lemon. This could be a little controversial because some people say that he may overlap a little bit too much with Chris Olave's skill set, but I think, again, like a similar motif that we've seen throughout this, first round so far, is the New Orleans Saints have a, somewhat promising young core with Tyler Shugg and Chris Olave. And I think adding Mekhi Lemon to the mix to maybe take some pressure off of Olave would really help. Mekhi Lemon, he's great. He is extremely physical. He's fearless, man. Like, he will go up for any ball across the middle. He absorbs contact really well. He's just a really good receiver. He's not the biggest guy in the world. I don't think he's going to burn anyone, with extreme speed in the NFL, but just incredibly reliable. And I think that would just be great for the New Orleans Saints right now with where they're at in their rebuild. So love Mekhi Lemon. Have him going at number 8 to the New Orleans Saints. At number 9, I have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Jeremiah Love. I know this is a little boring. A lot of other people have Jeremiah Love going to the Kansas City Chiefs, but it's been a need. Yes, Isaiah Pacheco's been good, but, they could have used a second running back, honestly, ever since they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, in 2020. I think Jeremiah Love is going to slide in wonderfully to that offense. It'll be interesting to see how that offense operates and how soon Patrick Mahomes is able to come back. Really like the Jeremiah Love fit here. He's got great size. He's got great speed that we saw, in the first playoff game last season of taking it 98 yards against Indiana. Really like Jeremiah Love, and I think he might be able to be in that same air and type of prospect of being a running back that goes in the top 10, just like Ashton Genty did last year. And at number 10, this is where I have the slide of Caleb Downs stopping. I have the Cincinnati Bengals selecting Caleb Downs. I love Caleb Downs. He's an amazing football player. He's incredibly smart. He's great against the run. He's a great tackler. He just does so many things so well. And, with the same maturity that people have talked about Jeremiah Smith since he stepped on campus, I've kind of gotten that vibe from Caleb Downs. Just smart. And I think the Cincinnati Bengals really need a guy like him on that defense. With all the money that they have invested in the offense, I think they're really going to have to invest, lower salaries of a first-round pick on defense like they did with Shamar Stewart last year. And I think this would be a great defensive piece to add to the secondary that, honestly, again, has been a weakness for 5 or 6 years. They've tried drafting guys like Dax Hill, but that secondary I feel like hasn't gotten any better and has been a weakness now for several years. So Caleb Downs, I think, would come in and really help shore that up. At number 11, I have the Miami Dolphins selecting Mansour Delane, a cornerback out of LSU. He had a great season this season, transferring over from Virginia Tech. The Miami Dolphins desperately need help on defense, and like I just said with the Cincinnati Bengals, I feel like the secondary for the Miami Dolphins defense has been a real liability now for several seasons. They invest a lot in their offense, Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle, so I think getting a cornerstone cornerback would be a great addition to the Miami Dolphins. At number 12, I have the Dallas Cowboys selecting Keldrick Falk. So he's kind of a developing edge rusher, which is what the Dallas Cowboys like. Obviously, with trading Micah Parsons, they desperately need some help on the edge. And Keldrick Falk, he's going to have great measurables. So he's really a prototypical edge rusher in that regard. Great against the run right now, but developing as a pass rusher. And there's been enough promise there that I think he can be a top 15 pick in the NFL draft. So I think he's a great fit in Dallas and just feels like a Dallas Cowboys pick to me. At number 13, I have the LA Rams selecting Jermod McCoy. I really like Jermod McCoy. He is honestly an elite cornerback, and I think without tearing his ACL, at the end of last year, I believe, I think he would have been drafted a lot higher than this. But because he tore his ACL and missed the entire season, which was allegedly a mutual discussion between him and Tennessee, so didn't get to see him this year. So that's why I think he's slipping to 13. And I think the LA Rams, I think at number 13, they're obviously as of right now in the NFC Championship game. And I think he would fit in really well, and the LA Rams can, take a little bit of a swing here at 13 with cornerback that they really do need. But I think Jermon McCoy, great fit with the LA Rams. At number 14, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Peter Woods. The Baltimore Ravens defense, I think, has kind of slowly fallen from grace just a little bit. Not the Baltimore Ravens defenses I grew up with. So I think it's going to start with the interior. They could really use a stalwart guy on the interior defensive line. And I think Peter Woods is that. Peter Woods, he's been producing ever since he stepped foot on Clemson's campus. So I think he'd be a great fit here in Baltimore. At number 15, I have the Tampa Bay Bucks selecting Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles is an amazing linebacker, as we've seen the last 2 seasons at Ohio State. And the Buccaneers really need a linebacker. They have kind of had a no-name linebacking core. I know a lot of people love to put Kenyon Sadiq here, and as a Ducks fan, I would love to see him with Baker Mayfield and Bucky Irving in the Tampa Bay offense. But I just think linebacker is a bigger need, and I think there's a little bit more depth at tight end. So that's why I have the Buccaneers selecting Sonny Styles. At number 16, the Jets. At number 2, I had them selecting David Bailey, the edge rusher, and I am going to double dip here on defense, and I have them selecting Avion Terrell out of Clemson. Obviously brother of AJ Terrell, who plays for the Falcons. Like I mentioned earlier, the Jets defense is so bad, and I think trying to shore up the defense is a great place to start. So they get an edge rusher, now they get a cornerback, so hopefully between those 2 additions will help improve that horrible defense. At number 17, I have the Detroit Lions selecting Francis Mauigoa out of Miami. I like Francis Mauigoa. He, was a 5-star recruit, and he's done good things at Miami. He has great size. Yeah, he's 6'6", 315. Played right tackle at Miami, and I think he's either going to be a right tackle, and I think that's where the Detroit Lions will start him. But he might move into guard, which is why I have him slipping a little bit. But I think Francis Mauigoa will be a great fit in Detroit. At number 18, I actually have this being a traded pick. Obviously, it would take a lot more than just a pick swap, but for the sake of the video, I'm just going to focus on the actual pick. So I had the Minnesota Vikings trading. I don't like any of the running backs here. I don't like any of the centers here. And DB, I think they're fine on the defensive line. They might take a receiver, but I think there's some talented receivers down the board, so that's why I have them trading the pick. And I have the Eagles trading up because I think the Eagles would, in this case, would see the Buccaneers passing on Kenyon Sadiq, and I think Kenyon Sadiq would be amazing in the Philadelphia Eagles offense. And that just kind of feels like a Howie Roseman thing to do, see a really talented player that he really likes, and just being aggressive and going up and getting him. So that's why I think that trade makes sense to me. At number 19, I have the Carolina Panthers selecting Denzel Boston. Really like Denzel Boston. I made a short on him in the offseason. He just looks like a prototypical NFL receiver. He's just very smooth. He's great at creating separation, and it contrasts a lot with Tedroy McMillan, their first-round pick from last year. And I look at this as kind of a prove-it year for Bryce Young. Bryce Young, when he played really well this season, he played really well. But he had some really bad games, like a Monday Night Football game against the 49ers. So to me, I'm still kind of waiting to see if he is the guy long-term. So that's why I like the idea of giving him another receiver. That way, if he kind of is either inconsistent or plays poorly, that way I know, it's time to move on from Bryce Young, and we can insert, a different quarterback into a great offensive line and great group of receivers. At number 20, I have this actually being another trade as well, based on their needs. Don't really like any of the guys listed, so I have them trading with the Chicago Bears, I believe. Yep, Chicago Bears. It would take a lot more than this. I could maybe see from 25 to 20, maybe a third next year. And I have the Chicago Bears trading up to take Caden McDonald. Caden McDonald, so I know, as you just saw, PFF has him ranked as the number 21. I think he's going to be a riser in this NFL draft process. I think the Chicago Bears, that their defense is really where they need, to do some work this offseason. And Gervon Dexter just isn't a reliable option on the interior of the defensive line. So Caden McDonald, just a great, love him as a nose tackle, stalwart, going to be great against defending the run. So I think Chicago would really want him, and that's why they would be a little aggressive trading up to 20 in front of the Pittsburgh Steelers. While it may not be an immediate need, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think they just need talented guys. And so I don't know really if any position is off the table for the Steelers, and that's why I have the Bears trading up, and also to get in front of the Chargers, who really need some defensive line help as well. At number 21, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting Caleb Lomu, the tackle out of Utah. Again, like I mentioned with Spencer Fano, very reliable, great tackle, might shift into guard. That's what I'm hearing. So I think that's why he might slip to 21. But, great option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They, could use him either at tackle or guard. I see them probably starting him at tackle. And then if that's not working out, move him into guard. Pittsburgh Steelers, like I said, they're just a really aging team. And now with Mike Tomlin gone, I think they're really kind of looking for a refresh. I'm not going to say rebuild. I'm going to say refresh. I have the Steelers taking Caleb Lomu here at 21. At number 22, I know I mentioned the Chargers need defensive line help, but they also really need to protect Justin Herbert if they have any ambition of going further in the playoffs than a wild card or divisional round. I have them taking Vega Ioane out of Penn State. Great guard prospect. And again, this is I don't think this is on talent that he's the 22nd best player in the draft. I just think it's positional value. Guards aren't seen as valuable as tackles. They really don't have a ton of reliable options, and Zion Johnson, I think, is definitely a bust at this point. But even Rashawn Slater's missed a lot of time over the last couple seasons. Joe Alt has missed a lot of time. I think those are your tackles, but they really need a guy that they can rely on in the interior of that offensive line. So I have them taking Ola Vega Ioane. At number 23, the Minnesota Vikings, I have them taking Casey Concepcion after they traded down. I am hearing rumors that Jordan Addison's time in Minnesota is over, and I think Casey Concepcion actually might fit in their offense better than Jordan Addison. Casey Concepcion has elite level speed, and I think that's going to fit in really nicely with Justin Jefferson. At number 24, here I have the Cleveland Browns selecting Caden Proctor, the tackle out of Alabama. Dude has ridiculous size. Don't know if he quite knows how to use it yet, but very talented, and the Browns really have two clear needs coming into this draft. It's going to be a receiver and an offensive lineman, and at this point in the draft, Caden Proctor is the best one, and I think a great option. At number 25, I have the Dallas Cowboys selecting CJ Allen. So have them selecting CJ Allen, who is a true off-ball linebacker. I see him being a weak side linebacker in the NFL. And again, positional value, that's why he's not being drafted higher. Great option for them. They really need a linebacker. I feel like they've needed a linebacker for a long time like this. And I think it's a great fit between the Cowboys and CJ Allen. At number 26, I have the Buffalo Bills selecting TJ Parker, the edge out of Clemson. Don't know how well he fits there, but they really need some edge help. It's going to be really interesting to see the transition that happens in Buffalo. Obviously, with firing Sean McDermott, the Bills are really in a transitionary period. They really need edge help. I like him better for the fit because he's bigger. And in a 3-4, I just like TJ Parker here better than I liked Cassius Howell. At number 27, I have the San Francisco 49ers selecting Colton Hood, the cornerback out of Tennessee. Again, another DB out of Tennessee, and he's really stepped up, I think, in Jermod McCoy's absence this season. A lot of people want to go edge here for the 49ers. I just think they've invested too much with Nick Bosa, and then last year, Mykel Williams. DB really feels like a more 49er pick here. So I think really investing a premium resource in a DB would really help the 49ers. At number 28, I have the Houston Texans selecting Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon. I love Emmanuel Pregnon. I really think he's going to be a riser. I think he really could go, 22 to the Chargers, or, maybe even higher than that. But I think Emmanuel Pregnon, he's so powerful. Like, he's big, don't get me wrong. How big is he? 6'5", 318, but he honestly plays bigger than that. Just moves guys out of the way in the run game. And the Houston Texans, they're kind of rebuilding their offensive line, so I think Pregnon's a great start there. At number 29, I have the LA Rams selecting Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. With the first pick, I had them kind of taking a swing on Jermon McCoy at secondary, but really they've needed help at offensive tackle over the last couple of seasons. So I have them taking that here, and I think if they got a DB and a tackle in the first round, I think they'd be really happy. This could also be a Ty Simpson spot. Wouldn't be surprised them getting a guy to wait in the wings behind Matthew Stafford, but I just like the tackle help a little bit better, and I think you might be able to get a quarterback to do that maybe a little bit later in the draft. At number 30, I have the Cassius Howell slide kind of ending here. And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against Cassius Howell, but just the way the NFL draft works, there's going to be guys that slide, like we saw with Shadur Sanders last year to the 5th round, but also less extreme examples. And that's, that's why I have even Caleb Downs. I think I really consider that a slide for him to go all the way to 10. I think this is absolute Caleb Downs hard stopping point. He's not getting past 10. But like I said, I could see Robert Saleh really liking Caleb Downs at 4. I could see the Giants taking him at 5. Don't think the Browns would take him. I could see the Commanders taking him. The New England Patriots, they made a lot of additions to their defense last offseason, but I think they're going to need a rookie to kind of be an infusion of youth into that defense. So have them taking Cassius Howell here. At number 31, I have the Denver Broncos selecting Caleb Banks, the interior defensive lineman out of Florida. Missed a lot of time this season due to injury, but I think if he would have played, I think his stock really would have skyrocketed a lot. He's got great size. He's really tall. 6'6", 330. So again, talking about a stalwart interior defensive lineman. They have great options out on the edge, but I think they could use a little bit of help on the interior defensive line, so have them taking Caleb Banks, just a massive force in the middle there for the Broncos. And at number 32, I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas. They have an aging linebacking group, so they really could use an off-ball linebacker. I think Anthony Hill Jr., I think he's a lot better player than 32 here, but I think, again, this is going to be positional value, and Texas not making the college football playoff and having a disappointing season might have him sliding. All right, and that's going to do it for my mock draft 1.0. As always, would love to hear from you guys in the comments. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? And I'm looking forward to doing a lot more of these as we move through the NFL draft process. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.